Okay, folks, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for being here this evening. We've got a couple items on the agenda, so I'm going to go ahead and just get started right away. If this is the first time you're joining us virtually, we just ask that everyone keep their microphones muted unless you're presenting or asking a question, just so we can avoid feedback during the meeting. And if you happen to forget to keep yourself muted, I might just mute you just to prevent that feedback. But if there is a time where you have a question or want to speak at all, everyone will certainly have an opportunity to do so. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the floor over to our treasurer, Dan, who will give you last month's report. Dan, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Let me just share real fast. That one. Okay. Sure. All right. Okay. That there. Can you see this balance sheet okay?
Sure can.
Okay, perfect. So last month, overall, not a whole lot changed on the balance sheet. I think um everything's looked pretty good. For the most part, our cash hasn't really fluctuated that much. Next, our income statement is looking a little bit worse. That's mostly just because we had a lot of we had, I think, 2 months of rent come out this past month. And I think we also have next month might be a little bit might be but a little bit of a loss as well, because we're gonna have I think the some of our bigger like the Apple's technology piece will be coming next month. But overall, I mean, yes, it looks a little bit sad right now, but I think this is kind of normal for um overall. It kind of just ebbs and flows, and we'll have a big uptick probably around the garden tour, and then around the festival as well, with more money coming with people joining the association. So overall, not much change.
Anyone have any questions for Dan? Okay, seems like not. Then we will move on. Thank you so much, Dan. All right, moving on. We have one zoning application this evening, so I'm going to turn the floor over to Tate, who will introduce the applicant. Again, if this is the first time you're attending this type of meeting or a zoning item, we will spend 5 minutes with the applicant to present the changes they're requesting, the variances they're requesting specifically. We'll capture questions for 5 minutes, and then we'll spend the last 5 minutes asking the applicant to answer those questions. So when you ask your questions, Tate will take those down, or you can also put them into chat. But Tate, all yours.
Great, thanks, Jess. Good evening, everybody. As Jess mentioned, we have one zoning variance application to review. It is 285 East Markeson Avenue. We have Rebecca Mott on the call, and she'll be presenting on behalf of the owners. Rebecca, do you have anything to share to share your screen?
Good evening. This is Rebecca Mott with the Plank Law Firm with an office address of 411 East Town Street, Columbus, Ohio. I can share my screen if you'd like, but I want to make sure that I get to it first before I share all of my client files, okay?
If not, I can just I can just share my screen, and I have the variance up. So that's up to you, whichever you prefer.
Oh, okay. If you could share the site plan specifically, if you have that document, then I can just talk about it. That would be
Uh,
great.
I can bring that up. I would only have the right now. Currently, I only have the variance request.
Oh, okay. Let me share my screen, but
Sure,
if you'll give me just a moment to set that up.
that's
Okay.
fine. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And then once you're ready, just go ahead and start, and I'll start the timer for you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think that I can hit the share screen button now and take care of this. Okay, and I hit that. Um,
And we can see your screen.
Okay, I just want to make sure this is the right. Okay, does everyone see the site plan?
Yes, if you can make it a little bit bigger, and then that should be good.
Okay, and I'll scroll it around as we talk about it. Is this big enough?
That should be fine. Yeah.
Great. Okay, well, the property, as Mr. Wooding stated, is at 285 East Markison Avenue. That's at the intersection of South 8th Street and East Markison. So it's right at the corner. There's an alley in the rear of the property. What the applicant would like to do, and they are a home builder, Brynwood Builders LLC, would like to basically construct a proposed garage, detached garage in the rear of the lot with a carriage house on the second story of that garage. In addition, there's already a garage attached to the existing single-family residence. He'd like to do an addition and improve the interior of that proposed garage addition. So that would be an addition of 396 square feet with some living space in there as well. And then also the proposed carriage house garage would be a total of 575 square feet as a footprint. We probably can only fit, even though these are both two-car garages for practical purposes, for city zoning purposes, we probably only can fit two 9 by 18 spaces in the rear garage and then one 9 by 18 space in the proposed garage addition, because there will be some living area in there and there are stairs and a doorway that would enter into the garage. So that would be 3 parking spaces total. And you do need, under the zoning code, 2 parking spaces per unit. So that's one of our area variance requests, is to be receiving a variance for 1 parking space from the 4 required to 3 that we're providing. Some of the other variances we are requesting relate to a use variance. So because this is zoned R2F, R2F would allow a single family residence or a duplex building, 2 units in attached dwelling building. But we have 2 detached single family, so that is not permitted without a use variance. So the first variance request is a use variance, and that is to, of course, permit this other single family residence above the garage, the detached garage, which we're seeing a lot of this in Central Ohio, of course, with the housing shortage that we have. A lot of folks want to come in and do single family carriage house over a garage. And this builder is proposing to do this for his own daughter. His own daughter will be living in the single family residence with that garage addition, and then they may be able to rent out then the proposed carriage house above the detached garage. But also, we need 3 other area variances aside from the parking variance. There is the existing lot that is already an existing lot of record. It's a legal lot of record. It's 1 parcel. And it does have a lot width of 30.68 feet, and that's at the north part of the parcel. So you can see that width along East Markison there at 30.68. That's up here. And then to the rear of the lot, we do get a little wider at 31.26. But even so, the lot width under the code would be 50 feet. But this is a legal non-conforming condition of the site. It's already existing. So we wanted to clean up the site and obtain any and all variances for existing legal non-conforming conditions as well. So we do need a variance for the 50-foot versus 30.68 for lot width. So that's the first area variance. The second area variance in your list in your packet was related to the square footage or area of the entire lot. You are allowed to use 1/2 of the alley to calculate the square footage or area of this lot. So the total square footage is 400, 400, 4,493 or 4,493, and that's over here. And it looks like our surveyor didn't put the city requirement in here, but in this box, the requirement would have been 6,000 square feet in area for a lot. Now that, of course, is an existing condition again, but we are adding a second single family residence. So I interpret the code to say that 6,000 pertains to having one single family building. And since we have two, I'm going to double the square footage and say we need 12,000 square feet total for the lot. Therefore, I think we need a variance for the deviation of 12,000 square feet required to 4,493 provided, which is a difference of 7,507 square feet. And then if I could just go on to the last variance, is that okay?
Sure, you
Please
can
do.
finish your thought.
Great. So the last variance relates to maximum side yards permitted. And it's really a weird code standard. It talks about the sum of the width of each side yard. And that calculation is supposed to be, it would equal or exceed 20% of the lot width. Well, 20% of the lot width would be 6.136. And down here, our surveyor put 6.14. They rounded that up, but it would really be 6.136. And we're just shy of that. Our side yards total 6.13 instead of 6.136. So we're literally asking for a variance for 0.006 feet that we're short on that maximum side yards permitted sum of side yards. So those are the four area variances plus the use variance. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I also have elevations of the interiors and exteriors if you'd like to see that.
Okay, so what we're going to do, we'll actually bring up a list of all of the variances. It sounds like the variances were split up in the packet, which is not the typical version we receive. So what we're doing is Tate's putting together the document to make sure that we can display all of the variances on the screen for the meeting so that everyone can vote. I will also need to update our ballot. Unfortunately, we just didn't have all of the information as we usually do. So we need to get that updated so folks are actually able to vote on that. That will mean that we likely need to postpone the vote a little bit further into the meeting as we have other items to go over so that we can get that updated for everyone in real time. So I'm going to go ahead and Tate, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and start taking questions. And then just whatever you get on the document, if you'll shoot that over to me, I'll get that ballot updated and we'll collect votes before the end of the meeting.
Great, thanks, Jess. And I just sent you in chat. I'm sending the other variances here. I do apologize I just saw the use variance here, so we will get those other there's a total of 5. Is that correct, Rebecca?
Yes, the reason I split those up and our firm does that as a protocol is a use variance requires a different standard than an area variance. So under the Ohio Supreme Court, Village versus or Duncan versus Village of Middlefield, a use variance has a hardship standard. You have to meet a hardship standard. So under our statement in support, the use variance is on the first page listed as number 1, and then we put the statement of hardship to basically present the argument for meeting that standard. But then the other variances are called area variances. Those are variances from lot development standards of the actual lot or parcel, not a use issue. And those require a different standard, a practical difficulties test, which is a 7 factors test given to us again by the Ohio Supreme Court case. And we argue those 7 factors differently for those variances. So that's why we break that up. I apologize if that was confusing, but yes, in total, there's 5 variances, 1 use variance, 4 area variances.
Great, thank you. If you could you please stop sharing your screen and then I will share mine. I have all 5 up and we should be ready to go here.
Okay, let's see if I can do that. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine.
Let me try to figure that out.
It should just be the stop sharing here. Should be on the bottom. There you go. Perfect.
I got it.
You got it? Great.
Okay, can everybody see my screen here? We can
Yep,
go
you are
ahead
live.
and, I'm sorry?
Yes, you're live.
And then we can go ahead and start with any questions. You can either put them in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, not seeing any hands raised. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask? Just give folks a couple minutes to look over the variances there since we did not have those with the original, just to make sure everybody knows what they'll be voting on. And I'll have an updated voting link for everyone shortly. Okay, seems like we do not have any questions. Tate, if you just want to go ahead and leave that up. And as of one moment here, everyone. All right, as of now, if you'd like to refresh that ballot, if you've already accessed it, that voting, those voting items will be in there now. And I'll go ahead and repost the link here to chat as well, just for anyone that did not see it in the original. Okay, so we're going to give everybody a few minutes to vote. If any questions do come up while we're leaving the floor open during this time, please feel free to just unmute yourself and ask. Just as a reminder, only current members of the association who do live or own businesses within the Merion Village Association boundaries are able to vote tonight. You do need to have been a member for at least 21 days. We will double check all of the voting later after the meeting just to make sure that everyone who voted was allowed to do so. But otherwise, please go ahead and vote now, and we will calculate those here in just a few minutes. Okay, is there anyone that needs a few more minutes to vote? All right, in that case, I'm going to go ahead and pull up our report here. Just a moment, everyone. Okay. All right. You just double check here. Okay, so we have the same results for all 5 items. So we have a total of 9 votes in support of all 5, none opposed, and no abstentions. So this matter passes our recommendation process, and we will pass that along to the area commission, who will then also share it with the city. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you, Rebecca, for being here to present for us.
Thank you, Ms. Norman. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure reporting this to you, and thanks for your vote. Appreciate the support.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
All right. Folks, well, we're going to move on here to the next agenda item. Thank you for that. Appreciate everyone's patience with that little adjustment we needed to make. Glad we were able to do that live. So we're going to move on here to another item, and let me go ahead and paste this into chat now as well. So the next item on our agenda are the proposed bylaws changes. So if you attended last month's meeting, you were here when each of those changes, or proposed changes, were read out. We spent quite a bit of time together going through each of those, as there are a total of 25. So now, a month later, we have those items before everyone for a vote this evening. Because there are so many items, the ballot that you will see at that link, you will need to vote on each item, even if you do choose to abstain from any. But that ballot will remain open until 8:30, which is when this meeting would normally end. That would be our 90-minute cutoff time. So you can continue voting throughout this meeting and of course until 8:30 p.m., at which time the ballot will automatically close, and only votes collected by that time will be included, or will be able to be tracked because it will close. So if anyone just has any general questions, we already did do the readout. You can, of course, still see all of those proposed changes on the ballot at the link. And then, of course, there's a version on our website as well, a PDF version. And then if you are a member, you would have received these changes in your notification emails a week ago and early this morning when we reminded everyone about this evening's meeting. So in general, any general questions about that? I see Jessica has her hand raised, and then we'll kind of proceed from there and give everyone an opportunity to vote, of course, until 8:30. So Jessica, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry. So I was reading the proposed changes and I was reading the part about absentee voting and removing that.
Mhm.
And I remember talking about that before the pandemic. And I was in favor of absentee voting before the pandemic because we didn't have virtual meetings, so you had to be in person to vote. And now it seems like we've moved towards virtual meetings, which is obviously really great. For the purpose of at the time what I was supportive of for absentee voting. But is there anything in the or in the bylaws about virtual meetings versus in-person meetings for voting? Like,
So
will there always be a virtual option to vote, even if there's an in-person meeting?
So as of right now, there's nothing in the specific bylaws that talk about virtual meetings. I will say that we discussed whether or not to keep meetings virtual or go back in person. I think about a year and a half ago at a monthly meeting, and we actually took a vote at that time, and it was decided that meetings going forward on a permanent basis would be held virtually. So the only way that monthly meetings will go back to an in-person setting is if a member were to call a motion for that, and then that motion were to pass. But as of right now, until a motion is called, meetings are permanently going to be held virtually.
And I remember that, but I guess what I'm saying is then you would have to change the bylaws, I guess, to then
You
allow
could
for
certainly, someone could certainly
Yeah.
propose to kind of do that. I will say that we enacted the absentee voting, I believe, in 2015. I can't remember if it was 14 or 15. But I will say that in the entire time, so almost possibly 10 years now, absentee voting has actually only been used one time during a meeting, and it was requested by a couple of members one other time. But aside from that, it's not even being requested right now, which is why we're proposing to remove it, because it's so
which
cumbersome.
makes sense because of the virtual meetings.
Yes.
But then there was also like a threshold of how many people had to also want to do absentee voting,
Mhm.
which made it hard to actually do.
Right.
Um,
Right.
And I was in favor of it pre-pandemic because it was hard for parents to come to the in-person meetings
Yep.
if you wanted to vote on something.
Right.
But I guess I'm just saying if there's ever a change back to in-person meetings, you'd
Mhm.
have to change the bylaws to allow for virtual voting.
Correct. Yes. If this does pass, then absentee voting will be removed entirely from the bylaws. But again, if there is ever a motion called to return meetings to being in person, then that same member or any other member could also call a motion to make an alteration to the bylaws to allow some form of absentee voting. Hopefully not as complicated as it is now, maybe a different form of absentee voting. But yes, at any time, it does not have to be a certain time of the year. Any member in good standing can propose a bylaws change, which will be read out at the meeting and then voted on the following month. So if that were to happen, if members were to vote to return to in-person meetings, then they could certainly also propose to add re-add absentee voting options if this proposed change does happen to pass this evening.
So, like, I hope that we don't go back to only in-person meetings, but if there were to be like a large zoning issue,
Mhm.
and we decided to do an in-person meeting because of that, would we then also have like virtual voting?
If we were going to do a special meeting, that's typically what we would, if it were not being held during a monthly meeting, which we do try to hold everything during a monthly meeting that we can, only if, it's a very, very large scale project, like what we just did for the Steelton project. But we also held that meeting virtually, even though it was a special meeting. So as of right now, even special meetings would be held virtually, again, unless someone specifically proposed that the meeting be held in person, simply because since we have started doing meetings virtually, we have seen an uptick in attendance and folks being able to be involved because of schedules or having children at home, whatever the reason may be. We've been certainly more successful with seeing folks being able to attend meetings more regularly. So, kind of to answer your question, if there were to be a special meeting, in order for that meeting to be an in-person meeting, it would need to be proposed and voted on specifically to be that. Otherwise, all of our monthly and special meetings are being held virtually on a permanent basis, unless members propose to change that.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And just as a follow-up,
Yes.
what's not changing is that because currently you're putting the links to voting on the website, MVA website during the meetings. And that's not
Yes.
changing at all as well, correct?
Correct. Voting is still only, regardless of the issue, whether this is a zoning issue or something like this, proposed bylaws changes, voting can still only be conducted during the meetings. For example, that's why this ballot for the proposed changes will automatically expire at 8:30, which is our normal meeting cutoff time, because voting can only happen at that time. It can't happen early. No one is able to vote prior to the meeting starting or afterwards. So it does limit voting to the meeting time. Even though it is virtual, it is still limited to the actual time of the meeting. I think I answered that question.
You did. I just
Okay.
because I think that will also help alleviate if someone's not able to join for the whole meeting or maybe not
Absolutely.
at all, they can still vote during that time. And I think you've made it really easy and streamlined to vote that way. So
Yeah.
I don't think this language is particularly needed.
And we certainly do see situations where members are only able to attend portions of meetings, and might vote on, items that only are occurring during those portions and not on others. So, yes, so we are still making that available during the actual scheduled meeting times. Any other questions anyone has? I'm not sure who all was here last month or who, like Jessica, kind of read through the changes before getting here this evening, but just any general questions we can answer about these proposed changes before we move on to the next agenda item.
The one thing I was gonna say too, Jess, is I feel like if we do go to some type of in-person, there's no reason why we couldn't also still have somebody's laptop playing the video and people could still watch. It might not be the best quality, but they get, and it'll probably still be easier for us to all vote there with our phones as well. So it's just actively ticking and tacking everything very quickly and easily.
Yeah, it certainly allows us to count the votes more easily. And then we do keep records of all of the votes, whether it's a vote for a motion or, something like this or the zoning. We actually keep those records. They get passed along to the area commission when they're related to zoning. So having the online form does allow us to keep track. And like Dan mentioned, even if there were to be some situation where we did vote on having a meeting in person, we would likely have a component there, probably Wi-Fi or an air card, that if a member was not able to vote on their own phone, we'd have some utility, just to make sure that we had a really good way of capturing it, since when we did kind of move to this online voting system, the process became much more efficient and easier to track. So that's a great point, Dan. Okay, Mike or Lauren has their hand raised.
It's me.
Hi, Mike. Okay.
I had a question on section D1. I think there might just be a small typo unless I'm not the legal person here.
That is very possible. Let me find which one that is. Which number is D1, Mike? Do you see that? Maybe it's not listed. It's probably not. Okay, here we go. I see it's number 4. And I will say this, if there are any basic clerical errors in the bylaws changes, and the proposed changes are approved, we will be able to rectify anything that is not a substantive change. If it's just a simple typo or something, we'll make
Yeah.
sure that that gets checked before it goes into the actual bylaws.
I
But
think what
let's
you're
see.
on number 2 about the businesses, it's basically saying this is basically saying if the business is not in Marion Village, they're still allowed to do everything except vote. Is that
Right,
correct?
that is
So I
correct.
think the second part of the part where it's talking about Ohio Secretary of State
Mhm.
should say is not located within the association boundaries.
Thank you very much, Mike. Okay, I'm going to take note of that right now so we can get that changed and updated. Let me go ahead and just make a quick adjustment here to the item so that I do not miss that if this is approved. Thank you very much. Mike, from now on, we might have you spell check everything. Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any general questions before we move on? Nope. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for that. I know this has been kind of a cumbersome process, but we do appreciate everybody participating in this. It's been quite a while since we've cleaned up the bylaws a bit to make things a bit more streamlined and remove things that are duplicative or argumentative with themselves inside the bylaws. So hopefully the changes will be well received and we'll be able to move forward with those. Because we will have the ballot open until 8:30 p.m., we will share the results publicly, of course, but we won't have them available before the meeting itself actually ends. So we will publish those after the fact. We'll actually include a summary of that in the next membership notification that goes out, and we'll put it on our website as well. And then, of course, assuming we do reach the required number of votes, which is 15 members tonight, and any of the items do pass, the bylaws will also, of course, be updated to reflect that, and they will be published to the website. Okay. All right, we're going to move on, folks, to the next item that we have here, which is a recap of the chili cook-off that we just held this weekend and kind of touch base where we are on the scholarship. So, Lauren, I will turn the floor over to you if you like.
Sure. We don't have any updates on the scholarship really, just because the application is out. We're just waiting for students to apply. I think just last time you told me we had at least 2 applicants.
So we have 3 so far.
Really awesome. And then the cook-off was extremely well attended. We had Stacey McWhorter was the winner of the traditional chili. She is from South Central Commons. And she's a really great help on the scholarship committee. And I did not try her chili because I do not eat meat, but I'm sure it was delicious. Oh wait, no, she won the vegetarian. That's right. And then the other, Sloan, won the traditional, and she took home the all over award as well. So yeah, but we had Schumacher people, we had Marion Village people, we had friends and neighbors. So it was if you saw the pictures online, super well attended. And we raised I think over $700 just on the day of, and we also have some online fundraisers going on as well. So I think we are over the $1,000 mark, which is our goal. Our goal is to be able to provide at least $1,000 scholarship to a South High student. So very, very successful year. And thank you everyone so much who came, who has, donated online, who made or ate chili. Thanks to you all.
Thank you so much. And a huge thank you to you, Lauren, for once again helping to coordinate the entire scholarship committee and all the work you guys are doing. That's a lot every year, and it's so wonderful. So thank you for that. Yes, we did raise over 700 at the event, which was fantastic. It was such a great event. And I did put in 2 links into chat. So there is a link there for the actual scholarship application. So if you know of any seniors or know of a place where it might be visible, please do share that application link. And the second link is to our active fundraisers. So we're doing crowdfunding donation, as well as 2 different raffle prizes, a 50-50 raffle cash prize for all of the raffle tickets purchased for that raffle. And then, of course, the Southside Pride gift bags. There will be 2 winners for that raffle, and each of those bags is worth over $400 currently. So a lot of really great prizes, and you can buy those tickets through March 30th. So be sure to do that. You just have to be able to pick up your bag here in Merion Village if you win. We'll certainly coordinate a time with you, but you just need to be able to come and pick that up since we will not be able to ship it. please do share those links. And as Lauren mentioned, we had a goal of getting that $1,000 mark, but any more money that we raise all goes into the scholarship fund, and the scholarship committee will be able to decide what we do with it from there. So thank you again for all of your support. All right, going to move on to the next item here. Committee updates. So we don't have anything to share with beautification. That committee is inactive at this time. We do not have any current volunteers. So if that's something you're passionate about and you'd like to take on a beautification project, do let us know. We'd be happy to help get that kicked into gear, as spring is definitely ready to show up any day now, I hope. No specific updates for membership. I think we're kind of on a bit of a hiatus for social until the weather starts to warm up. So we'll check back in with Mike as we kind of get to a little bit of a better season for some social items.
Yeah.
Mike, I see you unmuted if you want to jump in.
I think I'll plan on something for next month, and
Awesome.
I think I might do a happy hour at like a less frequent interval, maybe once every other month or once every quarter or something, just so it's like a little more of a major event. I think once a month gets a little tedious for people to show up. So look out for something next month, and I'm sure I'll be on that meeting to talk about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. Okay. And Tate, did you have anything else that you wanted to touch on for zoning?
Not currently, no.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, moving on here. I do not believe we have any of the Southside area commissioners present tonight, so we will not have any updates to share from them. Let's just touch on all of the active events we have coming up. So the Southside Area Commission does have their next meeting on Tuesday, March 26th at 6:30 p.m. at the Parsons Library, if you'd like to attend that meeting. Of course, our next monthly meeting is Wednesday, April 3rd, and it will be held virtually right here. We have Founders Day coming up on April 21st. That is a Sunday. So this year we will be celebrating Founders Day with a local market inside of the Century, which is at the corner of Moeller and 4th. The Century, you may know it as the old Big Me Happy building. It has been renovated into a beautiful event space, and we'll be partnering with them to host anywhere from 20 to 30 local makers and vendors. So primarily folks here who live here on the South Side, who make all kinds of wonderful trinkets or treats, who will be there selling those items that day. We'll also have a champagne toast again at the Merion Village Info Center. We're looking to see if there's some activities we might be able to have available for kids that day. So kind of still developing, but that will be on Sunday, April 21st from 12 to 4 p.m. at the Century. So keep your eyes open for that, and we'll be sharing more. We'll also have 2 food trucks. So we're hoping it's going to be a great day, and folks will be able to walk on over and celebrate Founders Day with us again, since we had such a wonderful turnout last year, which was our first time as a current group celebrating Founders Day. And this year will be the 39th anniversary of the Merion Village Association. So lots to celebrate before we hit the big 4-0 next year. Really looking forward to a great day. If you know a local vendor, we are still taking applications until the end of this month. So please let them know to head over to our website, and we would love to hear from them to see what they might like to sell at the market. All right. We also have our spring yard sale, which will be Saturday, May 4th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you are a member of the association, you can register for that for free to set up a sale at your Merion Village home or business. If you are not a member, you can pay $5 and also register for the community map. And then, of course, immediately following the yard sale from 3 to 5 at the Info Center, we will once again be partnering with Goodwill to host a donation drive and e-waste drive. So if you have housewares or clothing or items you'd like to donate that are in good condition to go into Goodwill and be resold, please bring those down. And if you just have some e-waste, old computers and phones, maybe some Christmas lights that don't work anymore, we can take those items as well so that they'll be safely repurposed and recycled. Let's see here. Moving on. The annual garden tour will be Sunday, July 14th. This is the 25th annual garden tour, so big year. We're very excited. We are going to have applications open soon for gardens. And if you are interested in helping us plan this event, we would certainly love to hear from you. We definitely need folks to help us connect with local businesses to see if they might like to be members and therefore have ads in the garden tour brochure. It's really how we sponsor that event, since the garden tour is and will remain a free event for everyone. It does mean that we need to find sponsorship for that event to keep it free. Also, we've got our festival planning, which has kicked off. I know it seems early, but the festival will be Sunday, August 25th, and it is not as far away as you think. So, again, if you'd like to help us plan, we will have so many volunteer opportunities for this event, helping, obtain silent auction donations kind of as we approach the event, or actually starting soon for those. And then, of course, many, many opportunities for day of as well. But in general, if you'd like to help us plan anything, please do reach out. You can just email mva@marionvillage.org and we'll get you to the right place. All right, let's see here. Agenda wise, it looks like, oh, there's one more thing I wanted to mention actually. We are taking applications for yoga instructors or like HIIT instructors who might like to host one or more of our Fitness in the Park classes this year. So that'll be from May through September on Saturdays in Moeller Park at 9 a.m. Those classes are hosted on a volunteer basis, but we do suggest that everyone attending make a donation directly to the instructors, and thanks for their participation. So if you'd like to host one of those classes, just head over to our website and apply, and we'd love to get you on the schedule. All right. Other than that, I'm going to open the floor. Anyone have any questions, things they'd like to share, any concerns you'd like to bring up? We can just kind of have an open floor here before we adjourn for the evening. Going once. Going twice. Okay. Doesn't seem like anyone has anything to share. So just a reminder, please do cast your votes this evening before 8:30 p.m. For the proposed bylaws changes. We will be gathering all of those up. And again, assuming we hit our 15-member quorum for that, we will then share that information and the results. If we do not reach the quorum, these items will have to go back up at another monthly meeting for vote until that 15-member quorum is reached. So we do appreciate everybody participating. I know that 25 votes is a lot, but we hope the form makes the process pretty easy to get through. And we again appreciate everybody participating in that. So I believe that is it. If no one else has anything to share, this was actually a pretty short meeting. But either way, we appreciate you all being here nonetheless and hope to see you at all of the upcoming events, especially Founders Day. So great last year, and we really look forward to another fantastic event to see if this can be another of our annuals that we get to celebrate each year. Okay, folks. Well, thank you so much for being here. Everybody have a safe and wonderful evening. We will see you back here next month. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Jess.
Bye.